G'day, citizens. Welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by Old Man Hurst himself, Algared. How you doing?
I'm still alive, and that's always a good thing. I think that's a Hurston motto. I'm
Yeah.
still alive.
I'm still. It's also what's that? A Gladys. I'm still alive.
Yeah.
Evil Incorporated.
I'm,
Right.
well, I'm still standing.
Yeah.
You know?
No. Gladys is from Portal. She's the killer
Yep.
robot thing. That's actually what I thought of.
Yep.
She goes, "I'm still alive." Like she's got
Yep.
a song. Anyway. Um.
I was just thinking of Elton John's song. I'm still standing because
Yeah.
that kind of it's the same type of
Yeah.
sense. I'm still going.
So on the stream
But yeah.
during the week, we kind of got a little hijacked by Expat that came along. We got 2 questions in to the stream, and then Expat came in, and it just totally changed what we were doing on the stream.
In fairness, she rated us, and we said, "Come and join us."
Yeah. In fairness,
And
but it did just
and
change what we were doing.
and it did devolve into basically Expat interviewing us and asking us all the questions and getting us to tease out ideas and thoughts. And it was, in many ways, it was really good because it actually made us go back and think about lots of things that we just take for granted.
Yeah, it did. It came a bit of a nostalgia trip, didn't it, in a way?
It was in many ways that nostalgia trip, but it was also someone who hasn't been here as long as us saying, okay, you guys know this, how does it tie in? Or what do you guys know about this? And making us actually go over the old ground and that came out because she'd actually gone back and started to look at the earliest videos and she was still missing things like Wing Meng's hangar and I know that was Wing Meng's hangar was before my time, but I'd actually gone back when I started. I devoured all that stuff. I devoured everything. But then, and that was after her probably 8-hour stream. She came and basically stayed with us 4 hours, and then after we went,
she'd started streaming before I went to bed. So yeah, so she ended up doing when she finally got off the Discord call with us, because we actually kept talking after the show.
Yeah.
It was 5 minutes before 4 a.m. when we checked up. We were like, what time was it when she left? Because she just had to leave all of a sudden. Like, it's way too late. And 4 a.m.
It was like
anyway, Alfred, we need to get on to the actual show.
Yeah, we do because we actually want to do the questions that we didn't answer because we promised we'd go through them. And so this stream or this episode is the questions that didn't happen.
So I thought we'd take the opportunity to do it in a way. So I've actually got 2 copies of Discord open. I've got a browser copy open, and this will kind of show you what Algared and I are seeing behind the scenes when we're doing a stream with you guys. So real simply, questions with the red boxes are from YouTube, and the questions with purple boxes are from Twitch and
Twitter. Not Twitter, Twitch.
Yeah.
Why is it Twitter?
Yeah, you're going to get fried for that one in the comments. Old Man Hurston doesn't know what he's talking about. Right, anyway, what we do is we simply, if I scroll up here a little bit, you'll see that we just emoji them. Algared's been on the phone recently, so he's using smiley emojis. If we don't want to answer a question, we use a no origin logo. They very rarely come up these days. And then basically, usually it's just a thumbs up if we've done it. So we just have a thumbs up and move on. But yeah,
I often do the thumbs up even if it's one with we're not answering. So often we skip the ones that are kind of the kind of silly questions like
or duplicates.
Question 1, or question 1: how many licks does it take to get rid of a Tootsie Roll?
Yeah,
I'll get to normally if we'd spotted that we'd have gone nuts. But
just to save time, and sometimes we do the silly ones too. But like again, we don't even know what Tootsie Roll is. So yeah. All right, let's get to the first question, Algared. So first one there is from Nova A42 says, with concept of the Ironclad, people are comparing it to the Liberator, and one of the point of views I've seen brought up is favor of the Liberator and the Liberator spawning ship. Any idea what the means for that? Surely the Liberator won't have ships popping into existence on the pads in the back. CIG must have been talking about the Liberator spawning in a hangar fully loaded. Yeah, and I agree with him on that. I don't think they will have things popping into existence.
I hope that's not what they do. Although, if we go back to what they originally were talking about with the Endeavour and its hangar, when you woke up in the hospital bed, being able to call up or summon a ship to appear or be delivered to the ship so you could go. And some of the discussion I recall from that was talking about if the captain has X number of ships in his storage, then you'd be able to call them up. So it was one of those things they hadn't really expounded.
I think you would agree with me on this, though. Whichever way it is clarified, you'd have to assume it's the same across all ships for consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
I can remember when they talked about the Endeavour, the 890 jump was tied in with that as well, because people were saying, well, what about the 890 jump? And I said, yeah, the same type of principle would apply. And that would then carry over to ships like the Kraken, the Idris, the Javelin, etc., etc., etc. So yeah.
All right.
The second question.
Yeah, go ahead. Same person.
Was Nova 42 again?
Oh wait, it's not a question. He's replying.
No, it's not. He's replying to someone.
Yeah. Next one is also by him, so go that one. Go the next one.
And that question is: any speculation on when the Ironclad Q&A will be live, and when the Ironclad sales won't be?
Knowing them, 2 days before it's due to expire, like they did with the Odyssey. Yeah, we are kind of waiting for it, aren't we, Algared? We were going to do, instead of this week, our fully intention was to do some kind of we're looking
Ironclad
between an Ironclad thing, looking at all the ships that it kind of treads on, because depending on the variant, it treads on a lot of ships, and we've kind of gone, we'll have a lot more answers after the Q&A, so we're just going to wait for the Q&A, and then we'll do a bit of more of a deep dive. And yes, that kind of sucks, it's after the show, but I think, Algared, you would say with me, pick up a CCU. It's going to cost you, what is it now, $25 to pick up both?
If you're someone who's thinking, I want to get both of these ships or one of these ships, get a CCU. You
can always melt it into buyback, can't you?
Even if it's not a Warbond CCU, get a CCU.
Yeah.
And just from the closest ship to it, $10, $15, whatever it is, and just lock in that price, and then.
And even if you're really hard up for credits, you can melt it into buyback and buy it back before release. So all right.
So
All right. Monster Avery goes, do you see the repair bay on the Ironclad Assault being viable if the roof doesn't open? I just don't see how soft death, heavy damage vehicles would get up the ramp to finish. Now, I actually have something I haven't talked to you about, so let's do two things at the same time. Bear with me here. I was not prepared for this, obviously, because didn't read the questions ahead of time.
No, we haven't read the questions beforehand. We intended to.
Yep.
But life got away on us.
Yeah, so I want to show you this. It's just something I noticed graphically, right? And it could be total bullshit, right? But look at the roof on this one. Consistent, you got the 3 panels, and then this one that it falls into, that falls back underneath the control deck, right? But you go down here, look at the color difference. Right? So I'm theorizing that these 3 back in underneath this one, but then this one doesn't move because it would directly be above the repair bay. So it's got no reason to go back anymore. So I think it might partially open. That is my potential theory. If it does open, I think it'll only open partially.
Yeah, look, I'm nonchalant about it. I'll see it when it comes. But I do think the repair bay is not only for vehicles, but actually enables you to work on ships.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What do you think there? Just noticing the color difference between the 2 roofs there. See how it's got the 3 panels? What do you think? Do you think that's nothing? Or do you think I'm seeing something that's not there? Or do you think it's potentially showing that one moves and the other doesn't?
It potentially shows that. And it would make sense if that middle section is shrinking slightly because of the repair rooms that are added on, then yes, I'd expect that to be the case.
Okay.
And if the only space you've really got to put the extra stuff in is that cargo bay, then because you can't really rip out the other bits that are already there, you're going to need to impinge on the empty space. But it makes sense.
I think the last thing I'll add is the service area itself. It doesn't have any printing arms like the Crucible does, as an example. So this is not doing super extensive repairs. It's probably going to be akin to a bit above where hand tools are at, like slightly faster hand tools. And again, I reckon it's totally tailored at vehicles. I do not think this is doing ships at all. I actually think what this shows, if anything, is I'd be willing to bet money, if I was a betting man, that they're possibly doing another variant that is all based on ships. And I'd almost think you'd go back to the Liberator and do an all ships variant. So that way you've
Yeah,
kind of
possible.
it's kind of like what you and I talked about with the Banner Merchantman and the 890 jump. They split out the variants, and I think that's what they've done here. This ship is so close to the Liberator, it's not funny. In so many things that it does, I think they've just split it, kind of like, and we've seen that a couple of times now. The Caterpillar Galaxy, you know, the 890 jump, the Merchantman. I think they've just gone, well, instead of having all these variants packed in one ship, we can split them out and essentially double the ships that we're selling. And that's what I think where this has come from.
And I think that is a significant possibility. But I also think that just that repair bay, I think, or the repair facility or whatever it is that they've got in here, at bare minimum is going to be similar to what you get on the Carrack. And the Carrack's little repair room, which is ideal for, you know, fixing components and fixing and doing anything else. That stuff you could use
one exception
to repair or fix.
One exception is there's no drones.
Yep. And that's a downside. But
so I'd put
even with that,
I'd put it below the Carrack is what I'm trying to say. In fact, if this had drones, boy, the Vulcan would be in trouble.
Oh, the Vulcan would be dead.
Yeah.
But I think that idea that the Carrack's got that repair base, so it can repair modules and other stuff.
Yeah.
If you can repair modules and other stuff, and you've got the component, you know, the other components, you can actually do hand repair on a lot of things, and get fighters that are probably too damaged to fly back out flying just by doing that hand repair. Is it going to be as good as
better than nothing
Vulcan,
though,
or a Crucible, or having nothing?
I think ironically, you know how you and I talked about there being a garage as the middle repair variant? I think, funnily enough, this is that garage you and I theorized that time ago. It's a lot bigger than what you and I expected, though, didn't we? We were expecting like a medium large. Well, it is technically a large, but like it's way bigger than what I thought it was going to be. And I would have had it so it had 2 doors, so it's like in and out. But we'll see. All right, better move on. Otherwise, we've taken way much time on that one. Right,
PQ Knuckles says, can you run faster than a size 9 torpedo? So can your ships go faster than a size 9 torpedo? Some of them will, some of them won't.
I think we can...
And that's why...
He's talking about the changes to missiles and torpedoes that happened this week. I think from what I've seen, they're baselining everything, and then they're going to rebalance them up. I wouldn't be panicking. Every time something like this happens, Algared, people are like, the sky's falling.
The sky's falling, the sky's you need to be aware of the way in which sizes work, and the way they even talked about the sizes of torpedoes and what the difference was. Size 1 to 4 in terms of missiles or rockets or whatever you want to call them were aimed at being anti-fighter, anti-missile, anti-torpedo type stuff.
Yeah.
Size 5 up are your torpedoes. They're the slower ones, which are anti-ship.
Yeah.
Size 5 up means you can target them with your guns. You're going to be able to target and shoot them.
And we don't have this confirmed either, do we, Algared? But one of the things you and I have suspected is that torpedoes will be a bit like, and we expect this for bombs as well, will be like ballistics to lasers, so they'll be able to go through shields. They might be slow, but that's the benefit they get for being so slow, is if they get you are got good.
If they get you, you're going to feel the explosion because they are a bigger warhead.
Yeah.
You will certainly be able to target them and shoot them. And even if CIG hadn't said this themselves, and I'm pretty certain they have, if my memory serves me right, it was a standard thing in a Chris Roberts game. Wing Commander, 9 times out of 10, you'd have that invisible skipper missile coming to your capital ship, and you had to hunt it down. And every time it changed location, it'd pop out of stealth. That was the time you had to get it, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get that.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of component that you can put into torpedoes and kind of, does it get some speed? Does it get some stealth? You know, that type of thing. Because they do cost a lot, right? Avenger and price. That's kind of nuts. So yeah. All right. Chris says, question: I would like to hear your honest and rawest opinion on everything that transpired at Invictus launch week. How do you feel of everything that occurred in ILW in a few senses?
I'll let you answer that, because basically
you were sleeping, you lazy bitch. Yeah.
Well, even not having a computer, it was very difficult to actually experience or check out.
But I did try to link you as much as possible to keep you in the loop, because I know what it's like when you don't have one.
But it was still very hard.
Yeah. For me, I think most sales now are not really tailored at the long-term backers, which is kind of sad, unfortunately, because they are your loyalist customers. They've been with you the longest time, and even Expat was saying during the live stream, wasn't she, that there's just less and less for her to buy now, and that's just the way of it. They're concentrating a lot of the bringing new people in because there's more money in that. That's fine.
Yeah, and that's normal.
But it was nice to see a big ship in the Ironclad. We have not had a big ship at Invictus like that before, and it was when I heard the Drake thing was coming. I'm like, come on, please be a bigger ship. Please be a bigger ship, because like we haven't had.
Please don't be a fighter. Yeah,
pretty much. And you know, the biggest we've had, I think we've ever had was around the Raelian, wasn't it? This time, when it was announced, that is that's going back 4 or 5 years at this time.
Well, even on the live show, I know I raised a question. I said, how long has it been since we basically had a ship this size? You know, how long has it been since we basically had what I was assuming was a cap ship? And I know we looked at the components and it doesn't have capital size components. And that's part of it. That the problem I had in looking at the details, I was going, oh, this is John Crew's great Corvette.
I think it shows that it's just another large, much like how you have a Connie and a 600i. They're both large, but you kind of get the two different sizes. Yeah,
it's Drake saying, oh, well, there was our Caterpillar. Now it's a Caterpillar. You know, it really it does feel more when you think it's a large and a capital. That really puts that. It feels like it puts that into more of a contrast.
It's very similar to what we showed on the live stream, where how there are different sizes of capitals. It's the same thing.
You could do the same thing with large ships, couldn't you?
Yeah, medium, it gets a little bit more grey because they seem, you know, they've got two smaller, they're very similar, but you can start to see it. And I think it is just the larger of the large ships. I know that sounds so stupid to say, but that I'm trying to think. There is a manufacturer, and I'm trying to remember which one it is. There is one manufacturer that has it's RSI, the Connie and the Galaxy. They're both large, but one is the size of the Caterpillar, the other is literally the Connie. So
and look, the Galaxy. Look, I remember when we realised it when we looked at the cargo capacity of the Galaxy with its cargo module versus the Caterpillar, and they were identical, and we went.
Well, they have different.
You're right.
They have different pad sizes, so that tells you right there. Yeah, there's a difference.
Yeah.
You're going from size 3 and size 4 pads. So they are class different. Yeah. All right. Way too long on that question. Do you think that there will be a new concept alien ship? I bloody hope so. There has not been one in the last 2 years, has there, Algared?
Nope. I would love to see a concept ship. And we do have that kind of alien-esque big, large ship or medium-sized ship in the behind the yellow curtain. I hope that's it.
I think would be more likely looking at something Cyan because of the Raelian, but secretly I'm hoping for Bantu. I know I'm completely wrong in that because obviously if they're working on the Merchantman, that would be more likely when they'd be doing one. Let's be all honest, but you know I can cross my fingers and hope and pray.
Knowing that they do, that they're working on family of ships.
Yeah.
I know we were talking about that ship behind the mirror. Maybe it's a Xeon ship from a different manufacturer.
I did float that to you, didn't I, during the week? I said to him, what if it isn't Mirai at all? What if it actually is Cyan that just happens to look Mirai and they're throwing everyone off?
And that is a legit possibility, but I don't think it is.
No, I don't either.
And the main reason for that is just because company, because a different design language would mean.
That's why we flight those ideas, don't we? Just to bounce them off. And even when I thought it was wrong, I said, I just want to bounce this off you. And we do that, just to see how other people feel. Again, when you speculate, don't speculate alone. Right.
Yeah. So you make mistakes. John Ski.
Yeah, go for it.
With Squadron 42 coming up, could they be releasing the new updated Vanduul ships? They intend to fully do that. They've said that.
Yeah.
When Squadron 42 comes out, we'll see the Vanduul ships. We'll see the so we'll see the blade, the scythe, the glaive. We'll probably see the void bomber. That would be a nice one to see.
We might even see them ahead of time if they're ready early enough, you know, again, if they're raising money to market Squadron 42, there's no reason we could get ahead of the time. But I think, what would you say, similar to what they're planning to do with the Javelin, like a little bit after release?
Yeah, I would fully expect to see most. That was certainly what I heard them say in the past. That once Squadron was out, we'd be getting the updated ships. But if I were bringing out, say, the Void Bomber, hasn't been sold, we haven't seen it. You could actually put that out as a concept ship at Alien Week.
Technically speaking, but here's the other thing:
bring the flight-ready version of it.
But have they done the internals, Algared?
That's
the eternal question. Well, see what I did there?
Well,
that's the internal question.
Yeah. Well, we know we've done the internals for at least for the old Blade, Scythe, and Glaive.
Yeah.
Because they're in game and we can use them. I don't think they're going to be too far off when they were changing the internals of those things. The Void Bomber is a bigger ship, so.
Hey, well, there's the interesting thing. Going back to Alien Week, could we see a Vanduul ship from Asperia? Like, that sounds like not a crazy idea to me all of a sudden. Are we in for a couple of ships? And the simple one that comes to mind, would they sell an Asperia Scythe? I did talk about this earlier on in the year, didn't I? And it's not a crazy idea.
I fully expect them to do that at some point. You know, Asperia do rebuild them. They rebuild them with original parts, and that's where McCleary was wrong when he was doing his things, and he was saying, is this an Asperia knockoff? Asperia do use actual parts in their alien ships. They also manufacture the parts when they can't get them or stuff. So, but hey.
All right. Kirsten says, do you think we will see large attack, and when would it be? When they're ready. That's like a how long is a piece of string question. Do you want to say anything to that, or just go on to the next one? John Ski question: gold standard existing alien ship.
The one thing I was going to say with Carsten's question is, if I were doing a larger ship, I would expect to see it at Alien Week.
Yeah, at least a concept, yeah.
But yeah,
again, I think just on the point of alien ships, I think most of them will be when their expansions come.
Yeah,
makes so much sense then. Yeah.
We've talked about that dozens of times. It just makes so sense. It just makes perfect sense. And the gold standard for existing alien ships, certainly the Vanduul ships when Squadron comes out, the others as they get to them. And I think the newer ones,
probably don't need as much work, do they? Yeah. But I don't think they need a lot of updating. That again, like, that's why I was so surprised with how little the Retaliator had done. I was expecting a lot more work on that. So, we'll see. I've got to read this next one because Mortal Kombat Fight Club Sophia, because I love Mortal Kombat. The Ironclad Assault top door, does it open? Do they answer that in Q&A? We haven't got the Q&A yet. So
we haven't got the Q&A yet,
and we talked about that one before. So we'll just move on from that one because we were quite extensive on that one. Next one, Andrew.
Sten says, for all that, keep asking about the assault's top door.
Oh, yeah.
I hope the answer becomes no.
You can tell it's not a question 9 times out of 10, Algared, because it doesn't have question in brackets before it. Most people do that.
Yeah.
All right, Patrick
S. He says he hopes not, just despite everyone who wants that and wastes stupid question time. Right. So,
Patrick S. Go, read the next one. Go ahead, Patrick S.
Patrick has a question. He says, do you think that the roof panel numbers on both the Assault and normal Ironclad indicate they both have roofs that open? Yes.
See, that's why I got you to read that one, because it was the same question again. A lot of repercussions about the roof. All right, Chris, in your opinion, what should be done with the Terrapin? It was a size 1 radar, which seems woeful for a Pathfinder or a scout ship. It is undergunned, over-armored, and really slow. But the one thing you're missing, sir, the one thing he is missing from that is it has 2 scanners. It has 2 utility mounts, and that puts it massively above the scout.
If I recall correctly, it has exactly the same utility mount as the Connie Aquila, which means it's got 2 size 2.
That's what I remembered, having 2, not size
scanners.
1s. But even if let's just play into his question, right? Even if it only had 1, it's got 2 of them, and that is huge because you can scan for 2 different things.
And they're additional to the ship's bespoke or standard scanners. So effectively, it's got 3 because it's 2 additional.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. So the ship one is, most ship ones at the moment are like 25 kilometers. The again, this is just theorizing that the main scanners will go further, or proprietary scanners. I don't know what you call that, like a utility mount scanner will go further. But then having two, for example, you could be scanning for minerals, but you could also be scanning for ships to see enemies coming. You can't do that with a scout. I'm just looking for minerals. Oh shit! I've been attacked in the ass.
Yeah, and that's I think the real big advantage of having those utility scanners or extra, or to pick up the old ad for the Aquila when it was first done. That they're using the scanners to check for life forms and atmosphere and everything else on the planet. And because you've got so much more data coming in, you are able to process it a lot quicker. Whereas if you've only got one scanner, you've got to do that. So same type of idea, just
leads into that military concept, doesn't it? Because the military would always want to have their kind of backup type of thing. Yeah. All right, Neb 42. When will the Endeavour grow? Will it be larger than the whole E? I don't want to pull out Hangar Link at
when
the moment.
They work on it.
I think 420 meters minimum is what we worked out. So you can go have a look at the length of the Endeavour yourself. 420 is the minimum we worked out with Star Jump Grim.
And part of that was looking at things like the hangar size and trying to extrapolate that, but also taking the cockpit size of the Odyssey and then compare it, because the Odyssey looks very similar in shape and form to the cab of the Endeavour. You actually take the cockpit size, and then you scale the Endeavour's cockpit up to that, and you get a rough idea of the size.
Yeah. So, anyway, all right, Henny Peg, question. I saw someone on Discord dunking on the Odyssey the other day. It was literally does nothing. What do you think with the Galaxy Expanse and now the Ironclad? Do you see the Odyssey fitting or changing? I will just go back to the same thing, because we have talked about this shit to death over the years. They market it completely wrong, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, 100%. It's not dead. It does totally different stuff to the Galaxy, the Expanse, and it's
the marketing.
James Nelson has a question.
The marketing lent into exploration, and they should have lent into surveying. Yeah. Next question.
That's our view. We've said it multiple times. James Nelson has a question. Do you think they would ever make a hover vehicle like Cyclone size?
If they don't,
I'll be honest.
I'm
sick of seeing hover vehicles.
If they don't make a hover tech at some point, it'll just be weird at this point. Let's be honest.
I'm sick to death of them though.
They're a bit cheap. This is something. Algared, if I just spin around a TIE Fighter troop and go a four-legged tank, doesn't that sound way more interesting? Like it runs, like I can even see one with 6 legs, like that walks around and stuff, and it's like all terrain. That sounds way more. Like I once had a concept. I'll see if I can find it and show you, because I'd have to dig it out from somewhere. I think I've only got an image of it somewhere. I'll try and find it while you do the next question, or answer your question, and I'll see if I can find it while I talk to you.
In James's question, I think the answer is probably, but I kind of hope not, because I'm sick of hover vehicles.
Yeah.
And vehicles, they're vehicles. Mortal Kombat Fight Club Sophia says, I had an Arasta until recently, and a CCU to a BMM along with it. I decided to upgrade the Arrow to a Polaris. Do you think I would regret this? What makes the Polaris so good?
You'll have to answer that one. I'm still looking for images.
Yep. So it's basically a mini Fix My Fleet.
Yeah, it is.
And ultimately, it comes down. The first thing that you have to think about is, okay, what gameplay do I want? Now, if you were looking at a BMM and an Arasta, you were looking more at refining and marketing and merchant. If you're looking at a Polaris, you're looking more at combat. So if you're a full-on non-combat person, you don't want to do any of that type of stuff, and you're into being a merchant, and you're into being cargo hauling, and you're into refining and that, you'll regret it. But if you want a ship that has a lot of gameplay options in terms of a combat and multi-crew, you may not. But in terms of multi-crew, all 3 of those ships are multi-crew. But the BMM, if you had to CCU to that, it's cheap. Then there's nothing to stop you, having that CCU back out of buyback and getting it cheap.
I think the generalist advice, I would always say is get the bigger one. If you've only got one ship, go for the bigger one because you can always earn down. But again, it's what gameplay you want at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So look at what you want to do in game and pick the ship that's closest to that.
Yeah, and when you're looking at the Polaris and the BMM, that becomes hard because they're both capital ships. So, which one do you like, and which one best suits what you're after? Would probably be my advice, and which one fits your budget.
Yeah, that too.
Avota.
Oh,
I'm not even going to try and say his name.
Hang on, so I can't find the image, but what it was, Algared, and I'll have to dig it up. Obviously, it'll take me a bit of time. But what it was essentially like an elephant tank. So imagine a tank, and it was like an industrial tank that was kind of based on an elephant. And so you have like a cab that you sit up on, like an excavator or something, but it was mounted where the head would be on top, and you kind of sitted on it, and it walked along on all four legs like you were up on top of an elephant. But then you could mount things on the back like a crane or an excavator or whatever, like on the back of it. So it just looked this giant, massive elephant. Now, wouldn't that be different to any other game you've ever seen? Like every other game, you just take something from today, and you put legs on it, you put wheels on it, but literally something that is completely different. Kind of like
one of the things I think that's that made the.
Hang on, just real quick. One of the things is why the mining tick is so popular. Is it just looks so different.
Yep, it's one of the things that made the Imperial Walkers so impressive. Was they actually use the elephant as the basis for working out how they walked. But something like that would be cool. I think that would kind of have Star Wars vibes to it. So we know that they like Star Wars and Star Trek, and they pull out those vibes. So I could see that. Vata unter Schlocken. So Vata had a question. What gameplay do you think we will see in Star Citizen 1.0 release? And what gameplay will we have to wait for? Keywords, exploration, research, personal transportation, data running, etc.
I'm going to be honest, Algared, I am a little nervous about it. When they're talking about 1.0 already, it makes me think they're trying to do an early access thing.
Yeah. For Squadron, for Star Citizen, for PU, I think 1.0 is really server meshing. That's when they're saying, that's what they're really seeing as 1.0, and it'll be basically what we've got now.
They've called that 4.0. I think their plan will be after, like if this end of this year is 4.0, for some reason they've got it in their head that they'll, the year after that will be 1.0. But I don't, again, like you put as many devs onto that, I just don't see it being flushed out enough in a year. Year just doesn't seem long enough to me.
I think, Strike, I don't know.
Look at a normal. Look at a normal game, Algared. You know how I always tell you it's normally like 3 years, right? Now, if you took a year off for all the foundational tech being done and kind of done, but then you've got you break it into thirds, like they're all thirds I talk about, but they've got to modify about another third of stuff to make it the multiplayer part, right? I would say, quite honestly, they need at least 2 years to even get to the baseline, right? But maybe I'm wrong. Again, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Maybe they got a whole bunch of stuff we haven't seen, ready to go. My thought is that really, that whole idea is when they go 1.0, when they're looking at release. That's when the game is kind of complete, and it's when we've got 3 systems or 5 systems. Yeah. So Chris always talked about 5 systems being the kind of what we'd have at start. That's when he kind of thought release would be. Yeah. Now things change. Whether that still is the line of 5 or we've got a whole host more is yet to be seen. But I expect that it'll certainly be with server meshing. We'll certainly have different systems. And as server meshing and those different systems come on, I expect we'll have scanning, because we've already started to get elements of that come in. Will we get info running? Will we get the e-warfare stuff and hacking?
you know, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I don't think it matters because they're just going to keep iterating and adding that stuff as they go along. So, yeah, just enjoy the ride.
That's it. All right. Benjamin says, Algared and X, what did each of you guys purchase during Invictus? Now, Algared, you didn't get much because you're on the phone, did you? I think you got some Ironclad CCs, and that was about it, wasn't it?
Nope.
No, you didn't even Ironclad.
I bought nothing. Not an iota.
Wow. Really hates Drake.
I told you. I told you. I am not buying anything until I upgrade the pack at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's a good move. Good move for you.
Right.
Yeah, from me though, I got the Ironclad CCs. Accidentally melted the $5 one. I hated that, and then I had to buy it back for 15. But I'm not going to bother concierge over $10. Can't be bothered. Then I brought 5 of every variant of the Mk1 CCUs and just melted them into buybacks. So I can buy them back at a later date. I buy a whole bunch of 5 copies of like all the good skins that came out and melted them into buyback. So all I really ended up keeping in the end was the Ironclad CCUs. That's all I got.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I will eventually get the upgrade pack, which will have all those bits and pieces in it.
Yeah.
The question is whether I add new cash, and do the war bond option, which will give me a bigger discount, or whether I end up just melting stuff and just buying it with credits and using a concierge subscription discount coupon.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right.
So I'm not spending until the end of the year.
Yeah. T-Jack says you were supposed to get a Q&A today for the Ironclad. No, we still don't even have one today, and this is 2 days later. So yeah, Algared, next one, Monster Avery. You ticked it.
All right. Just double checking.
Oh wait, that's not a question. That's a comment. Next one, Axis 96. Do that one.
Did you answer Ben Hannah's question? Have either of you decided to pick up the Hornet Mk1?
No, I didn't. And no, I didn't see that question, so I did skip it. Sorry.
All right. And I already had them.
I just melted them all in the buyback, so I've got options there if I ever want them in the future. Again, if you're going to Mark 2, why the hell would you want a Mark 1?
Yeah.
And other than the rarity, and I just don't think it'll be that rare because it's been around for such a long time. It's no Star Kitten, it's no AMD Mustang, it's no Raven, it's not quite the same. And I think most people will probably upgrade into the Mark 2 just because. Why?
I think the biggest frustration people with Mark 1s have is really with the the Ghost and the Tracker, because their gameplay isn't in.
They've confirmed they're coming though, but again, we might not get the update, as you just rightly pointed out, until their gameplay is in.
Yep. KC Kaboom.
Yep.
X, will you change your Kraken to an Anvil carrier?
It would have to
or an Anvil carrier.
It would have to be pretty bloody good. And I'm going to be honest, I'm expecting it to be, and I think you'd be in line with me on this one, more in the combat skew than the support skew, and I picked up the Kraken for the support, not for the combat-y.
Yeah, I think the standard Kraken would be closer to the Anvil, but I think the Anvil one would be more have an enclosed deck at this point. And even the Kraken's got that. But I think you certainly wouldn't see that merchant aspect. You'd see probably a more military side. How they'd do that, I have no idea. Maybe greater repair capability, or
maybe that's the hacking ship we were talking about. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, because all the Anvil military ones have kind of got like a skew on them, like military explorer, like both the Terrapin and the Carrack do that, so who knows? But let's be honest, most of them have something above just being combat. The only one that's like really hardcore combat is the Javelin, isn't it? Really, and even then, that's got all those modular rooms, and it's got the hangar for the Redeemer.
And even when you look at the Javelin, even in lore, there's some entrepreneurial guys have used the Javelin to do high security deliveries and stuff. So even in that sense, that they've got an idea that the Javelin could be used commercially. So
All Combat Fight Club Sophia says, I gave up on the Erastor for Polaris just to ask X Algared, do you believe the Polaris has potential to make more money or a good amount? Isn't that the same question she asked before? That was about a better management though.
It was about the banner merchantman. This is asking, is the Polaris going to be... I'd say it's slightly different. This is saying, is the Polaris going to be viable?
Well, you've gone from
and
a
I
large...
think every ship.
You've gone from a large to a capital. So, yeah, I think you've definitely got the potential there to it definitely will be worth more money in game. I think that's the easiest way
I think it'll be it'll make more, will be better than an Arastra. If you had an Arastra to BMM, the question might be, will the BMM and Polaris be comparable?
But this is something you and I haven't talked about, Algared. But personally, and this is a personal thing, right? For the best value for money capital in the entire game, I have a mental, and this is just a speculatory thing on my behalf, and it's mainly because this thing takes stuff out of the game and it doesn't rely on other ships. There are only two capitals to do that. The Reclaimer, which is smaller, and the Orion. And I think because of that, the Orion is probably one of the most valuable capitals in the entire game, right? Because you don't need anything else. So to go back to her question just real quick, Orion is probably where I would have gone over the Arastra, right? Because you've kind of already hinted you got the Arastra because you must like mining. But again, you do you.
Yep. But in answer to the question about the Polaris having the potential to make money, and I'm going to leave out the more money, I think every ship is going to have the ability to be profitable.
I'll have missions for every ship.
Every ship will have missions that enable it to cover its bills and expenses. And so I don't think you need to worry about that. It might take you longer to earn up to the next one. But if you're earning money on a Polaris, you're earning 10 times, 20 times more than you'd earn on a small ship. So
that's it. But it will cost more, but it'll balance out.
But they'll pay for themselves, so and have money left over. So
it's like every game it scales, doesn't it, Algared? It's a part of the stepping or skipping stone or stepping stone analogy type thing. Yeah. All right. X-Day says, with the Arastra being able to fit 2 rocks, do you think that they'll refit the Apollo to fit a Nursa? That is some...
No.
Well, for one, they don't need to refit the Apollo to fit a Nursa. Oh, actually, no, I'm thinking of the other ship. The Galaxy is what holds the Nursa. The medical module. Right. That's how we knew it was coming, because there was space there and they had a photo of it with an Ursa on it. And we're like, that's a medical Ursa. It has to be.
Yep. Have to be a medical Ursa. And it had a lift for a vehicle in as well. But the Apollo doesn't need to be able to fit an Ursa.
Yep. It doesn't need
because the Apollo has 2 medical bays. It can have a site, top tier bed or 3 on one and three base tiers on the other. Or it can do a mix.
You remember I was talking about ship sizes before, and I said the Connie and the Galaxy? I just realized that the Apollo's right next to the Connie. They're both. The Apollo is technically the smallest large ship in the game, so that would be the same thing. Yeah. Right. It just doesn't need it though, because it can go down and land on a planet easily, can't it? It just
and the thing that even the layout at the back of the Apollo was actually geared to have a reception area. So
and a ramp.
It literally is. It's a ramp and a reception area to go in and then go to the ward. So it was literally a mobile clinic, kind of like the flying service, the flying doctors in Australia, where they'll go to remote communities.
I'd be surprised
if I see the Apollo.
I'll be surprised if we don't actually get a photo of the Apollo like transferring something between the Apollo and the NASA type of thing, like almost like a helicopter rescue scene you'd see today between the ambulance and the helicopter. Something akin to that is what I'm expecting, But right. What's the next one?
Mortal Kombat Fight Club Sophia. Algared, what ships would you put in the hangar of your Polaris? I'm going for the F7A Mark II. Depending on the mission.
Yeah, we've talked about this to no end, haven't we? As well over the years, there is so many cool choices there. Terrapin's the one that always comes up with us, and it's come up with us for years. Just to add because there's another thing we talk about is adding to the
adding to the gameplay that you've got.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a combat ship that's got really big scanners, but how can you modify that scanner again? Well, you send a Terrapin, and the Terrapin goes in harm's way, and that allows that to strike, kind of like, that's almost like the laser pointer for the Polaris to come in and just go bang.
Yep. Extend the range of the Polaris weapons and
You could do it with other ships though too, couldn't you?
Yeah,
You could do it with a Razor. You could, ships that just can't get the distance that a capital ship can get. And there's no reason you can't have multiple fighters and cycle them through and repair, but obviously you've got to be out of combat to do that.
I remember Hayes used to talk about doing that, having fighters cycling through and doing that. But it is that idea of having the ship, of just using stuff to make the ships more versatile.
Yeah.
And expanding the range and the abilities of your ship. So, I could see myself using
Legionnaire's a good one, just off the top of my head. Boarding other ship.
If the Legionnaire fits, because I just can't remember.
It will.
If it fits, it's perfect. I think that, my thought of a Legionnaire was it would be perfect for the Javelin as a troop.
True.
As a investigating ship. I think they need more of those types of boarding ships. If you've got ships that are policing, and your Navy's policing an area, you need something for your Marines to be able to get over.
I'm honestly surprised we don't have more boarding ships, to be quite honest with you, because quite honestly, are you really wanting drop ships to go to attack ground locations and stuff like that, or are you going to be? What is most of your combat going to be? It's going to be other ships.
Yep.
So boarding is going to be a really big thing, and I think the only other one that I can think of besides the Legionnaire is the search and rescue cannon on the Caterpillar. Can you think of any other ones? I can't.
No.
Yeah.
No, they're all drop ships.
So there's definitely room there for a lot more boarding ships, but whether they go there or not is another question.
The only other, apart from the other boarding, and I'll put it in fact, boarding ship that I can think of is a Hammerhead. Because it's got that bow with kind of that crunching, reinforced front, and the doors that open. So
that is true. That could definitely be a thing that they add in. I know you've mentioned that before, and I kind of dismissed it, but you are right. It would be a massive upgrade to that ship.
It was one of the things we talked about originally when we talked about the Hammerhead.
The other one I think about is a cutter variant that Agent Lady brought up, which was like just like almost like a cutter steel.
Yeah,
and that works so much better than an actual steel. Like you strip the whole living quarters out, the whole back of it out, and it's just seats. And maybe like even it was only just 6 people and the pilot, but a dirty, essentially, but just a dirty ship that goes over. And when I thought it was like a magnetic attachment on the roof of the Rambler, that would be sick. You just go over and magnetically attach yourself to it and just dirty board onto their ship. It sounds like Drake to an absolute T, and it would work brilliantly.
And the other ship that ties in with this as well is also the Terrapin. Because the Terrapin, in lore, has a variant that is used by the Marines, and they like it because it's armoured and it's stealthy and it can do stuff, even though it's cranked.
Definitely if they go back and do the search and rescue variant that they dropped it, I believe that was IA last year or the year before.
Yeah, when Jimmy rocked up to save Jack.
Well, there was no Jimmy last year, so it must have been 2 years ago now. God, the time is blurring, Algared.
I know.
I definitely think if they do that search and rescue variant, then we'll be up for a couple of variants, not just the one. So it makes it seems a bit silly just to do one, wouldn't it? You do a couple, like what they've done recently with like what they've done with the Saber recently.
Yeah, and I could see that troop one because it's a lore one. It's one people like. It ties in with everything else. So yeah.
All right, Mortal Kombat fight. Algared, I hope you going for the Ryzen 7 7800 3D CPU and a decent GPU to go with that. So you went the one above that, didn't you? You got
I did
a 7950.
A Ryzen 9, I think. Yep.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Ryzen 9 7950, I think it was in the end.
And no, the GPU is still my old 1080 Ti because it saves me several $1,000s.
Kick that down the road to after CitizenCon type of thing.
That's right.
Yeah. Right. Nova A42 question: who makes the PC case? What's in the cabinet? I forgot we showed this all off on stream. What's in the cabinet? Yeah. So the PC case was made by Fractal, so we can answer that one. But as for others who are forgetting, what is in the cabinet behind it? So he wants to know about your miniatures.
Thousands of miniatures.
Yeah.
So 25 mil Lord of the Rings trolls and orcs and Riders of Rowan and ghosts.
Yeah.
25 mil Saxons and Normans. 25 mil, actually 35 mil.
40 years of miniatures.
Yeah. 15 mil Napoleonics, 15 mil Dark Age, 15 mil Sassanids, World War II minis, and World War One planes.
Yeah. Algared will leave you a list in the comments below. I'm not sitting here listening to this again. List in the comments below again. All right, same question again is for Expat. So Axis 096 says, what is your stream setup, Expat? So Expat, if you're watching this, can you put your answer below and I'll pin it below. So she's asking what a stream. Hers will be very cool because she does that for a job. She does the whole production shit.
Yeah, and she does, and she. One of the things I know she's done in the past is she'll spend ages looking for the right clothes to wear for her character, but she'll also spend ages looking for the right places so she can actually get the green screeny type aspect to work as well.
Yep.
So
that's how you know she's got a very certain setup. Her and Algared are very similar, and it's kind of scaring me. Quite honestly, the more we talk, I'm like, how the hell? Like they talk about history and all this shit together. It's really freaking me the hell out. Anyway,
it does. It scares him. He's going, no, what have I done?
What have I done? It's just like they're clones. All right.
Alex, should I be regretting my buy of the Mark 1? Sorry, off-topic question, but curious on your point of view.
I just upgrade to the Mark 2 and earn a Mark 1 in game.
Yep.
But again, all fighters, why would you buy one, period? You know, like for me, if you're going to buy one, buy the updated one and earn the other one.
Yeah, if you're going to buy a fighter and you're better off getting the best fighter that's out.
Don't you also think that the quest chain for the Mark 2 would be somewhat in a similar rep line to the Mark 1?
Yeah. You know, so
again, if you're playing in the Mark II, you're kind of going to be grinding towards the Mark 1 anyway. So you know, so yeah. But again, that's just a guess on my part, but it just makes logical sense to me. But again, don't buy fighters; they're too expensive. Little simple things like why the hell would you get an F8 when you can get a Redeemer for $30 more, or a Caterpillar, or you know.
And then those, you know, and I think those bigger ships will make more money, and it's we say it all the time. It's easier to earn it's easier to earn down to those fighters from, say, a Redeemer or a Caterpillar or that than it is to earn from a fighter.
And Chris
up to those.
And Chris himself kind of pointed out the more people are on a ship, the more it's going to kind of go up in value. So when you look at what was it way back in 2014, Aurora stays the same, Connie about 5 times as much, which I think you can convert to 4 people because it's 4 people, and an Idris will be 10 times up to 10 times as much. So you just looking at that math, you always want to go bigger. Right.
Noctis Actual says, do you think CIG will rethink the Ironclad assault roof doors based on feedback? It would bring the ship out to S tier.
Yeah, but it's design. At the end of the day, like I've seen people say, like, why would you deliberately put something in the way so you can't put bigger tanks there? That's because they don't want you to do it. That's why when I saw the door, I was like, that's a choice, so you can't do something.
Do you remember the original location of the turret on, you know, the rear turret on the I think they did on both on the great ship, the Corsair, and also the MSR.
The original turret position.
Certainly certainly the Corsair had a turret in the back, just like the Connie does, and they positioned it right in front of the door. And the idea of that was so you couldn't put vehicles on. You could only put bikes on because that turret column was blocking it. Yeah. And they moved it when they brought it out.
Yeah.
I'm glad they moved it because it was
a bit like the
reasoning to have that turret door.
Well, they just changed it to a remote turret.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to be honest with you. It needs to be done for the freelancer. You've got 4 people on that thing already. Why put them in a turret at the back? Just give them a console to do it on.
Yep.
You know.
Absolutely, 100%. But you know that was one of those things they had. You know, the 2 turrets, the column, just like the Connie has, but in the back, blocking the door, and it was a stupid idea. I get why you were doing it. You want to make it different from a Connie, but just I'm glad they sucked it up and just got rid of it and basically made the back a bit more like a Connie.
Right, Deathwing188 says, are you aware that CIG has recently started sub-capitals to denote ships with capital components which are lower crew requirements? Galactopedia only lists 8 capital ships. So is this probably going over the stuff we were going over? Yeah, it could be a change. And we did say that things may change when we were showing it off.
Yep, and, it makes sense.
But
Galactopedia is also still not fully up to date.
And law does change, and I think the other thing we'd also say is, back in the day, if it has a bespoke component that was capital, it made it a capital ship. Every that was that. I mean, we're on way back, this is before Algared's time type of thing. But Algared will back me up on this because he's read all that shit, right? And that's why we went over the 890 jump and the reclaimer, because they're the only 2 in-game examples that we have. And I have no doubt, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Algared, but I think the Polaris is the is it the engine or the power plant? God, I can't remember on the Polaris. But one of them is bespoke.
Yep. And the Polaris was designed as a replacement for the Idris, which was supposed to be the smallest capital ship, and was needed, and it grew because they needed it for Squadron.
And that's why you've kind of got the frigates and the Corvette stuff backwards. It's different from real life. Again, a law thing that needs to be changed because it's shit.
Oh, look. I actually think it's...
There's got to be a law retcon just before release to fix all this shit, because it's stupid. Everything from tier beds in medical beds to the names of ships that are the same. They
certainly do retcons of things that they have stuffed up. They try to avoid doing retcons, so they try to keep the law as is, but they always try to also write their law with a 12-inch paintbrush, so they can go and fill in all the gaps.
Yeah.
And that's why they try to avoid making those big changes.
And I think that means there is going to be just a big retcon just before release, because they have to. I don't think you can go into a game like this and just have so many things stuffed up. But instead of just changing it constantly all the way along, they just do one big day of change and it's done.
They do still make the changes as they go along. That's one of the things they try and do. But the big changes, I think they'll leave them until the I
can hear expat right here talking about the Liberators. The same company, 2 names of the same ship, but different ships. It's just stupid. Right, Nocta Actual says, why do you think that there are 2 different gold standards? For example, the Retaliator gold standard was primarily functional tech upgrades for the ship, which internal Ares needs an art pass. I think you kind of answered it yourself there. Internal, external.
While interior areas need the art pass, I think that's there's a tech aspect where they need to get things like the lights and the HUDs working and change them over. So that's a big aspect.
Retaliator was the oldest light ship in the game. It didn't come out last week. It didn't come out last year. That's why it needed such. Again, I think it's just the time period of where it came out, isn't it?
It probably even was still had its old damage states, from way back, and we know that before it came out, or when the bomber came out, the reason we had everyone had the bomber variant, even if they had the standard base, was because they couldn't get the Retaliator to work. If they took the module out, you still had the torpedo sitting there. It was a bit like the landing gear. When you blew the wing off, you still had the landing gear there. It was that type of problem. And they've solved that. That was one of the things they solved, which enabled them to do it. So,
I am quite happy, interested to see, I know this is slightly off the cuff of the Retaliator, but the new ship weapon loadout screen, I'm really looking forward to see how that pans out. Is it going to be more like the inventory screen? Because what we've got at the moment is this list, and it's a little archaic. And it's the last kind of real holdover one. I think that there might be one more. I'd have to go back and check.
If it works like the inventory screen where you've got your ship and then you've got the box and you can change, pull things and move things around, and it's more visual, I think that'll be golden. But at the moment, it is clunky.
So Wolf002 says, question, have you seen the image of the Ironclad in Futbula? It looks smaller than the Liberator. No, I haven't seen it in Hangar Link, but if it is in Fleet View, I haven't had a chance to look at it, so I can't answer to that.
I haven't seen it either. So
read the next one, Agrid.
Noctis Actual says, does Algared feel he can barely get his points across without getting interrupted constantly? Sometimes if there's more than 2 people, yes. But it's the nature of a conversation.
Yeah.
And, sometimes, I could just be rude and just keep talk over people and not let them say their points. I choose not to. I choose not to try and do that.
So
but X knows I also will yell at him and rant and rave and cuss and carry on.
Yeah, if you want to get your point across, you will do so.
Yeah.
I think that's the nature of what this is, though, is a conversation. This is not me grandstanding and then you grandstanding. It is us popping ideas off each other and seeing what comes out. And it has been an expat that when she was here will say the same thing. It bears a lot of fruit. It is a discussion. It is not just people grandstanding. The other thing that needs to come across that I do not talk about enough, right? And one of the things that triggered me during the live stream, if you were watching it, is questions like this, right? Because they don't understand the situation. Lag actually, let me finish this because it's really important. So lag really affects these discussions, especially Algared and Expat. Expat was even worse than Algared in lag time. He takes about 3 seconds. She's about 4 or 5, right? But when I know that they are lagging, as soon as I hear them and I'm in the middle of something, I just shut up. Because I know that if I keep talking, it takes 3 or 4 seconds for them to actually shut up. So it looks like a lot less like they're cutting me off, and a lot more like when I do it to them that I'm cutting them off, right? So it looks worse when I do it than it actually is, right? And they cut me off a lot, but I just have to live with it because they're the ones. So the lag essentially favors them. Right, and again, Algared knows this. Algared will tell you this, but it's a part of how the discussion flows. And I've just learned to live with it. But I only ever see comments about me cutting him off, but he'll freely tell you that he cuts me off too. He doesn't intend to do it, but he does.
Yeah, the lag actually does. The lag actually results in me cutting him off at times. And I've watched this. I've watched our YouTube, and I've sometimes got the YouTube on, and I'll say something because I'll look at the YouTube chat and say that. And I'll say something, and the YouTube I'm lagging like 3 seconds behind the conversation, and it's frustrating. It's annoying as hell.
Again, it's hard. Like when we're in person, this just doesn't happen, does it, Eric? But because of the lag, there's just no way around it. But we've learned to live with it because you don't get that flow of conversation, the exchange of ideas without the interruption. And yes, sometimes things are lost, but that's also one of the reasons why we often keep notes on a notepad to try and remember things, right? But it doesn't always work in the heat of the moment. And yes, sometimes things get lost. And yes, sometimes you do cut someone off. And also, I think the other part of this is my bipolar. I have a very, if Algared is not landing the plane, and he'll tell you this, he will, I'm like, Algared, you're losing me. And if you're losing me, you got to be losing half the audience. So land the plane.
I will at times try to give background to the thoughts as I'm processing. And one of the things I try to do, and this is probably why I take more time, is when you or Expat or anyone else is talking, I try to focus on what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's
and that's part of being a teacher, and that is you try to listen to the question before you actually start processing. How am I going to answer this? What am I going to say? So I try to do that.
You'd also freely admit, though, but I'm often doing things in the background too. So I'm doing multiple tasks, and men are mere males that can't do that. So sometimes I do interrupt more than I should. But yeah, but we've learned to live with it, haven't we, Algared? And I think the other thing, the one takeaway I'd say from this is most of the comments we get tend to be from newer people that do not understand that this is a discussion, a conversation, and a back and forth. And we have seen that ever since we started this channel, I think, Algared, wouldn't you say? We've seen comments like that from new people.
But one of the things that we both value, and one of the reasons why we do the show, and we continually do it as a duo, is the fact that it is, I often say it, it's a radio talk show.
Yeah. And we are very different people, and you get very different opinions from both of us. And generally when things line up, it's because we've learned they are factually, well, not factually is probably not the right word, but more often than not correct, right? Because there's a lot of things Algared and I, like you've only got to drop politics, science, or religion, and me and Algared are at each other's throats, right? That is just, we are very opposed in a lot of different things.
Yep, we are complete opposites on those points.
And I know I'd say the other boys are the same. We just don't talk about that stuff with the others because that just does not make good friends, right?
Yep.
But we've just learned to to tolerate our flaws, work around them, and it works for us. And again, if it's a bad viewing experience for you, the other thing is we really don't do the show for you. We do it for ourselves. This is look just to the point. After the stream ended, we kept talking for another hour with Expat.
We did.
That just if you were there and you were fly on the wall, you could have been there and been a fly on the wall. And we've had people do that, haven't we, Algared? Where just us talking.
It is a one of our Patreon perks. Is they can actually be in the channel and listen to what's going on.
Yeah.
And hear that, but I think the only people we ever get in there now are our mods. Haven't seen our patrons pop in for a while.
No, there's a few that'll pop in, but I think it's a timing thing because also we're in Australia and stuff like that as well. But
because I know they used to pop in more on when we were doing it on Friday rather than our Saturday.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So look, if we don't have a problem, we'll just hope that you guys don't have a problem with it. And just realize that it's a conversation. I think that's the big takeaway. We're dealing with lag, and from my side, it might look like that I'm interrupting Algared. Obviously, it looks like that way, but I hear him talking, so I just stop talking because I'm like, I know it's bad for you guys, but if I honestly just kept talking every time, it would appear like Algared's interrupting me as much as I'm interrupting him. But I'm trying to make a better experience for everyone by just shutting him up.
About the one thing that I do have found that with my predicament with the phone and the stuff is that when I speak, it actually cuts your
it's even worse.
Off, so it actually,
it's even worse.
It makes it worse for him. So every time I speak, he goes, everything stops.
That's when I don't
really plays with his head.
Yeah, and that's when I don't have the headphones on. So normally when we're like just normal chatting, I will rest my ears and take the headphones off. And that's what he's talking about there. So it's even worse because of what his phone's doing. Anyway, all right, we've beaten this to death, but it's something we had to talk about because obviously it came up on stream. All right, here's for the next one.
It will always come up.
Yeah,
it's one of those things that keep going. Midnight Black SC says, can you think of a good reason for them to take Squadron off a pledge store for over a year? Yeah,
we've talked about this a lot, haven't we? Marketing, multiple versions, price, hype, build up. We've even talked. What was the other one we talked? They're the people that are going to let test it for like in an early access type of form. So say they release it at CitizenCon, but you can't actually get it till the end of Q1.
So lots of options, but I just think it was part of the plan to get it out. I think it's part of why they have and I honestly think they're aiming for Squadron's release at CitizenCon.
Yeah.
Now, are they going to make that? I don't know, but I think that is their goal.
Yeah. I think the gala is definitely a plan for that.
I think.
Why would you do such a big, eloquent event the day before CitizenCon? And to me, it's like Big Farrar announced that it's out, and then the next day you literally go into CitizenCon with all your fans going, "Yeah!" Like I could see that.
You remember when it came out, and you were going, "Why are you?" I thought, "Why would you really want to go there?" And I started pointing out little things like, special guests and this and this and all those little things. It just ticks the crosses the T's and dots the I's and just makes you go, there's something going on here. And
well, that's how it all starts with you and me, isn't it? It's always something small that grows in our heads.
Even after that, I remember I remembered one of the things Sandy had said, that they were planning a very small gathering for CitizenCon.
Yeah. And that and
that kind of led into, that's the gala.
Yeah.
I honestly think they're planning for or hoping or aiming for the release of Squadron at CitizenCon.
Yeah.
Now, will they make that? I really, really hope so.
I think that's the plan, and if they don't hit that, at the very least, we'll get a date, because, again, there's legal things to point to in a Q1 from the UK government and stuff like that, so we'll see. All right, Volta says... No, I already did that one, so I'm going to skip that. Dominus Nictus says, question, do you think the size 9 torpedoes are going to be a lot less lethal than 4.0? I think we kind of talked about this one, so we can kind of skip it, but they're going to... It's the start of a balance pass, essentially.
Look, I think ultimately they're going to be very powerful. Size 9, you think of size 9 torpedoes, but you're starting at size 5. So size 5, size 6, size 7, size 8, size 9. But there's only one size above them. The size 10s.
You'd have to imagine that size 9s are the smaller capitals and size 10s are for like javelin type of things.
But they're, you've got several sizes below. You've got size 5, 6, 7, and 8 are torpedoes. They're going to be slow, they're going to be powerful, and you're going to be able to shoot them down. But it's not going to be one shot blows them up. It's going to take a steady stream, and I imagine, they'll have some armor or shielding or something else, or there'll be stealth aspects that impact you.
What's their visible range? Like, a ship can be seen at 25Ks. Do these things pop up at 2K? Like, you just don't know. So wait and see. So
all of those aspects come in, so... is that an advantage of having a ship with a sensor? To go back to that earlier question, what's the value of a Terrapin with its extra sensors? That it can actually hunt down and find those torpedoes that are coming in, and target them. So that, or the advantage of a tracker to be able to target those targets so the other ships can take them out. So lots and lots there.
So we really only have one question left, which is by Damon. Now, I'm thinking this is out of context, though. So these are the type of ones that are really hard. We're going to think back 2 days. Can we still find those original videos? Now, the thing I'm thinking about is the original Kickstarter video. Is the only one I remember talking about on stream. And the Wingman's Hangar, So
we talked about Wingman's Hangar. We talked about Around the Verse. All of them. The only ones I don't think are available are the lunchtime streams.
Star, Citizen... original Kickstarter video. Bam. They're right there. And then the other one would be...
If you go onto YouTube and you go to Star Citizen,
I just go Wingman's Hangar. Star Citizen. Boom.
I saw them updated on their YouTube channel, and I think during the week Wingman's Hangar was now showing updated a day ago.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is I did it in a Google search. How about you ask Google before? There's this really cool website called Let Me Google That For You, and you literally take the link of what someone's looking for, and it shows them how to type it into Google and click search. It's hilarious.
But most of their old videos you can now find, Around the Verse, Wingman's Hangar, all of them are literally on YouTube in CIG's YouTube channel.
Yep.
So easy to find. And that is our last question.
Hopefully a lot easier to find than the current ISC videos that are not tagged, misnamed, and all the Ironclad is rad. Wow,
you can find all of the questions, all of the shows, but whether you can find the content that you're after in those shows, that's hard. Although, go on.
I was going to say, this is going to be a hard one to ask people what to leave in the comments. I think it is just like, are you happy with the questions that we answered? Any rebuttals to the questions? I think is there anything I'm going to ask in the comments?
Did we misunderstand your questions and go off on a tangent?
Yeah. Was that your fault when you don't put context in your question?
But I think that question in terms of is the original content still valid, based on the conversation and the way we were talking with Expat about where it was, and telling her you really need to go back to the beginning, and find the stuff.
And you will. The problem is the game has just been out for so long. There's just so much shit to sift through, and we get that. I'm just thinking of the way you always say that the people kind of reboot what we say because they haven't seen something that we saw. Death of the Spaceman's proven that we've been right. I'm not going to sit here and defend myself anymore. I don't have to. Death of the Spaceman will do that for us.
I can remember when I started in 2014, I devoured everything that Star Citizen had. The riders, guides, everything. Once I found it, I was all in. And it took me months. It took me, I probably did it. I probably just dropped all my other hobbies and just everything just consumed.
Yeah.
If I was starting today and I did that, I'd be dead.
I don't think you could do it today.
You can't. No, I don't think you could.
And it was something that I remember talking about with Sandy way back when. I said someone needs to start building something that can pens all this together. I did see a tool by someone recently that Space Tomato was showing off that you could put in. I think he's only done it for one aspect, which was server meshing. But if he expands that, it would be amazing. So you can type like click a thing and it'll show you where it was referenced, in what video and what article and all that type of shit on what paragraph. And it's like,
I wouldn't
damn.
be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the type of thing Sherry's doing behind the scenes as well.
It had a
Sherry's the archivist.
It had a Space Tomato color theme to it, so I'm actually wondering if it's someone that knows Space Tomato. But even if it, I don't care who makes it. It's such a great resource if they expand that out.
But anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if Sherry is doing that as well, because she's the CIG's archivist.
Yeah. All right. So anything you want to hear in the comments below, Algared?
Did we answer your questions appropriately? Did we go off on a tangent too many times?
Did we talk over each other too much?
Of course we did, because we do it all the time.
All right, then. With that, then, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And thank you to everyone that went extra mile on Patreon at the end of the credits, at the end of the video.
And on that point, he's been Execute.
That really confused me, by the way. He's been Algared.
And we're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens.